The Vulcan Talos multifunctional cable pulley and power rack has gotten mixed reviews. And after 10 days of trying to break it, I'm gonna tell you if this thing's a beast or a bust. The No Fate channel, checking in. Jonathan here, and the internet is absolutely split on the Vulcan Talos. We've got some people writing that it is the best all-in-one power rack system for your home gym, and others telling us that it is literally the worst product they have ever reviewed. After some serious clanging and banging, I'm ready to set the record straight. In today's video, we are going to break down where the Vulcan Talos absolutely crushes, where it misses the mark, and most importantly, if this beast from the East is worth your hard-earned money. Now, if this Leviathan looks familiar, that's because it is the same one from Gluck's gym. You know, the one that he called the worst piece of home gym equipment he has ever reviewed. But here's the plot twist. GarageGyms.com claimed the Vulcan Talos was the holy grail of power rack all-in-ones. Literally nothing bad to say about it whatsoever. And it's that big divide that made me want to review the Vulcan Strength Talos to figure out if this is a hidden gem or if it's a piece of trailer park trash. The Vulcan Talos does have a lot of things going for it, predominantly the fact that it is an all-in-one complete home gym. In today's home gym community, people love these all-in-one systems in large part because they're trying to do a lot of lifting in an exceptionally small space, and that's what this thing delivers. You get a functional trainer, you can bench, squat, overhead press, lat pull down, low row, you can do flies with this thing, you can do reverse flies, face pulls, you can do pullovers, and you can even do Zercher squats. Plus, of course, you can do curls for the girls. And well, you get the idea. If it's in your programming, rest assured, you can do it with the Vulcan Talos. For a 4-post rack, the Vulcan Talos is exceptionally sturdy, in part because of these dual 300-pound weight stacks, which is probably more weight than anyone could possibly use. This was so sturdy even before I added the additional weight storage. In addition to the weight stack adding stability, I think another main reason has to be these feet. Now, the majority of power rack uprights don't have this internal section where you get extra stability because you've got more metal material on the inside of the rack. You could bolt this down if you wanted to, but absolutely not necessary. In fact, it's so sturdy, I didn't bother installing the rear braces that it came with. If you're picking up any of this home gym gear, or even just window shopping, do me a solid and use those affiliate links, which are in the description of today's video. It costs you nothing, but it helps keep this channel from skipping leg day. When you use those links, let me know so that I can send you a small token of my appreciation. Another area that caught my attention were these trolleys. What's nice about them is that they have rollers, meaning you can literally move them up and down with just one hand. When Adrian Gluck reviewed the Vulcan Talos, he absolutely decimated the cable tension, saying that it was too loosey-goosey. Now, I had my concerns installing it, but after I set it up, it seemed to have some pretty taut cable tension, almost ideally where I would want it to be. I do wish they had a method in terms of tightening or loosening the cable tension because everyone has their own preference. The biggest standout and surprise when I used this Vulcan Talos was the lat pull down. Incredibly smooth. It literally felt like I was back at a local gym on a brand new lat pull down machine.
I want the truth!
I have a few annoyances with the Vulcan Talos, and while they're not deal breakers in the matter, I feel like I need to bring them to light so that you know what you're getting yourself into. Number one has to be the instructions. Now, instructions are something that a lot of companies overlook and just simply poo-poo and don't bother putting in just a little bit of effort, and unfortunately Vulcan Talos was one of them. The instructions for this entire rack are only 4 steps, and that is not enough. And most importantly, there's no installation video to set up. Now, I have put dozens of different power racks and functional trainers and lat pull downs together over my time as a YouTube content creator.
I'm kind of a big deal.
And I know what I'm doing, at least more than the average person. And I still had a massive time trying to get this thing assembled.
Good luck.
And I know I would have had a lot more problems with the installation if I didn't have Adrian Gluck's YouTube video to refer to. For those who aren't familiar with functional trainer or lat pull down installations, if they get this thing in their home, they're gonna have a ton of trouble installing this thing and installing it correctly. One area where I feel Vulcan Strength kind of cheaped out on this was when they went from 1-inch hardware to much smaller hardware at the top and the bottom. And we have seen this a number of times with budget companies. They do this to save money, and quite frankly, I don't blame them. They're looking to cut costs. But the Vulcan Talos is not cheap, and it's certainly not a budget piece of equipment. I wish they just kept the same 1-inch hardware all the way up. These guide rods are hollow, and as you can see, they are actually bolted to the top, bolt going right through the upright. And while this is fairly common in a lot of designs, I happen to think it's just a bad look. I would just prefer if these guide rods were 100% solid. That would actually give a little bit more stability, and you could bolt them top down. The other way to connect these to the power rack would be a clamp up here that kind of squeezes the rod to the upper part of the power rack. If you're like me and David Goggins, then you love your pull-ups, and you can get a front pull-up handle for the Vulcan Talos. In fact, I got them sent to me, and the reason I didn't bother to install them is because I recognized that my head was going to be uncomfortably close to these 2 pulleys. The Vulcan Talos does come with this nice lightweight aluminum lat pull down bar that you can connect at these 2 points. But because it's a dual point system with about a foot gap in between, if you have any type of muscle imbalance or any type of just unevenness with your lat pull down, you're going to find that you're just a little bit off. And I'm over exaggerating here in the video just for the effect, but it does become slightly annoying again if you notice you have like one hand pulling much stronger than the other. What needs to be fixed on the Vulcan Talos? What does Vulcan Strength need to do on the 2.0 version, which is already in production, in order to give you a reason to choose it over all of the competition? Number one has to be fix the price. With high prices come high expectations. As this stands, $4,300 and change with all the attachments that I've shown. That's only $300 less than the Aries 2.0 from Rep Fitness. And I know $300 is a lot of money, but when you're already over the top on that $4,000 mark, $300 is just another drop in the bucket. So they need to either lower the cost, which I don't think they can do, or they need to improve the product, which is what I hope they will do. So I did some internet sleuthing, and yes, I was able to confirm that they do have a Vulcan Strength 2.0 in the works. It looks as though, from what I could find, they are going to at least change the pulleys at the top and the bottom to be swivel, and that is very similar to the Rep Fitness Aries 2.0. Another thing that I found out from talking to a few unnamed sources, which is fantastic, is that they are going to have an upgrade kit. Rep Fitness, the Aries 2.0, people loved it. However, when it came out, all the people with the 1.0 kind of got left holding the bag. There was no way for them to upgrade with all these new features. Well, Vulcan is going to make a kit so that you can upgrade. You can change out some parts to at least get some of the great new features they're going to have in the 2.0 version. Now, probably the worst issue across this entire unit has to be the low row. It is literally unusable. If you connect the handle that they provide, you're going to find that you are literally crushing your feet every time you put that weight stack back. Now you can do single arm rows, so two hands at the same time. However, because the pulleys are fixed and don't swivel, you're going to find that when you bring that weight back and squeeze your lats, that you're pulling the cable at such an angle, it's creating a lot of friction on the side of that pulley and just doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel smooth. I even went so far as to get a decline bench and do a low row with that decline bench, and that did help resolve some of the issue utilizing the handle that they provide. When it comes to a functional trainer, we all want the same thing, a buttery, smooth motion. And quite frankly, in a home gym environment, when you're buying something brand new, that shouldn't be hard to ask. It should even be better than what you find at your local gym, because the functional trainers at your local gym are being used thousands of times a day. The cables are usually frayed and they are never lubricated. So getting something in your home gym that just feels phenomenal is not much of a bar. It's not a lot to ask. It's absolutely doable. We've seen it across countless other companies. Well, this functional trainer is absolute crap. Now, I hate to be all doom and gloom, and I don't want to be a sad Sally, but it's just a fact that the cables don't feel right. I don't know if it's the thickness of the cable or the fact that they use like 4 different sizes of pulleys going from large to small, or what's going on. But when you pull on it, you notice it doesn't feel right from the get-go. It just seems off. It's most noticeable when you only are using 1 or 2 plates. The resistance coming off that pulley is heavy. And if you're trying to do functional exercises or even rehab exercises, it's gonna be too heavy. Even lateral raises for me was an issue. And if you've got kids or your wife training on this thing, they're never gonna be able to get past the first plate, if even use the first plate. It's time. It is time for my final thoughts on the Vulcan Talos. Originally, I had planned to train on this thing for 30 days in order to do today's video, but after 10 days, I had just had enough, and I didn't want to compromise my workout program and training in order to continue on using the Vulcan Talos. Whoever wrote the GarageGym.com article either had a completely different Vulcan Talos than the one I have here, or they were paid. They were paid to write a non-biased article that looked like a legit review, but it's really just a glorified ad. While Gluck's review calling the Vulcan Talos the worst piece of equipment he's ever reviewed is probably a little bit overblown, I'd have to imagine that his frustration during the assembly process probably carried into his video. And to be completely fair, I wouldn't have had as easy of a time with this Vulcan Talos if it weren't for his video to refer to. I can't in good conscience recommend the Vulcan Talos as it stands today. But there's good news. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. They're working on a 2.0 version, and everything that I mentioned in today's video are literally easy fixes. Now, it may sound like a bridge too far. Maybe I'm asking them to do too much in terms of fixing from generation 1 to generation 2. But the reality is, it's not that much. And if they can do all that and deliver it at 4,000 or right around 4,000, they will absolutely be super competitive compared to Rep and Rogue's versions. 2 things that don't need an upgrade: these 2 videos. Hit the subscribe button, give those a watch, and as usual, don't save anything for the trip back.